What's going on, party people? It is I, your favorite literary detective here, Young Paperwork, and I want to talk about Master Detective Archives Raincoat today. I recently beat it, and though while I was playing it, I had no plans of making a video on it, I did enjoy it enough that I thought an unscripted video would work for this format, and I don't have a ton of footage, though I have a lot of screenshots. So I will be using a lot of trailer material and possibly gameplay from other creators. I will put their name on the screen so they get credit and kind of talk about my general feelings and experience with the game. Now, Master Detective Archives Raincoat is an adventure game developed by 2Q Games and co-developed and published by Spike Chunsoft. I'd argue it's still very visual novel-esque in its presentation and format. It was actually made by several people who worked on the Danganronpa series, including the lead designer Kozutaka Kodaka, who I'm still mad at, but getting in my good graces a little bit with this, character designer Rui Komatsuzaki. It came out for Nintendo Switch in June 30th in 2023, and all the better versions for like PS5 and Windows and Xbox and whatnot came out the following year. I did play this on the Nintendo Switch, and the Switch did not let me take 30-second videos. And if I was prepared to actually make a video on this, I would have used my capture card. So I do apologize for that. I actually go pretty far back with, I'm saying Kodaka like I know him, but I mean with his games. I was one of those people that were into Danganronpa from the very first video game. And I played it, I think, on PSP Vita, if I remember correctly. Followed by Super Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, Ultra Despair Girls, eventually the third one, and I watched the anime and stuff. I've even read some of the manga and supplementary material like Danganronpa Zero, the light novel that focuses on Junko Enoshima. So I'm very familiar with a lot of his work and Rui's art style, which I really come to love over the years because I think it's very distinct and he's really good at making eyes for a lot of characters. So Raincoat will be Kodaka's next work. I have not played, I think it's called Good Ends or Dead Ends Adventure. I'll remember the name later. If I messed it up, I'll just kind of put a fix on screen. But let's kind of dive into the game synopsis and what the game is about, and then we can kind of talk about the gameplay and what's good or bad and the pros and cons of this game. It's not really a review, I just kind of want to talk about it. So, you play as Yuma Kokohead, a detective in training for the WDO, which means World Detective Organization. You are sent to a place called Kanai Ward, which is ruled by the Amaterasu Corporation, which has freed itself or detached itself from the UG. That is the unified government. In this universe, the entire world government is as one, and somehow this one specific region was able to get away from that. The Kanai Ward is a very corrupt place. Their military force, the peacekeepers, are demons. They even have a reverse saying of like, you have the right to remain silent, you have the right to attorney. They say I think they like reverse it, like you don't have the right to an attorney and you have the right to speak or something like that. And they just do whatever the hell they want. It is constantly raining, and for some reason it's been raining for the last 3 years. Keep that in mind, we will circle back to that. And several detectives from the World Detective Organization is sent there, but not many people make it. Even in the initial traveling to Kanai Ward, ruled by the Amaterasu Corporation, you are the only person who makes it off that train alive. You're technically sent there with 5 other detectives. I think there were supposed to be 5 detectives, but the train had 6 people. And after a secret mercenary was sent there, disguised as a detective from the WDO, everybody is killed except for you. The Book of Death is something that you read which took your memory. So Yuma has amnesia, but he willingly gave it away for the power of the Book of Death. Meet Shinigami, your companion throughout this game, which has a ghost form, and in the mystery labyrinth, which will make sense momentarily, she's got this human-esque form and she looks really good. Yes, this is an amnesiac character, and I find this trope and I find this writing convention to be extremely played out, and I don't like it, but it's one of those cases where I think it makes sense, especially when it comes full circle, because he actually gave up his memories in past in order to gain the special abilities that come along with Shinigami and the Book of Death. Later on, we learn basically that the main mystery is that people are being kidnapped globally and we don't know where they're going. So our best guess is Kanai Ward, and which is why several detectives have been sent to this place to figure out what's going on, you being one of them. And we'll talk about the other characters that tag along with you momentarily. Let's get to the gameplay. I find the gameplay to be very good, solid, fantastic for the most part. I'm sure the loading times for fast travel and going to different areas would have been much quicker, and some of the transitions would have been much more seamless on a stronger system, but unfortunately, it was bought for me on the Wii. I didn't buy this game, my best friend got it for me. Very Ace Attorney Zero Escape and Danganronpa like for the most part, as in you kind of have a portion where you're just doing regular things and then something happens which kind of forces you to investigate, and then there's like the trial portion, the portion of the game where you have to put everything you've learned, use your critical thinking ability and information gathering to solve what's going on. So I'm gonna call it Daily Life, Investigation, and Mystery Labyrinth for this game. So Daily Life, as I said earlier, is the portion where you're just doing normal things in Kanai Ward until a murder takes place. Now you have to investigate it, and more likely than not, you've got caught up in it in some way, shape, or form. Investigation is where you talk to people, you examine clues and items and environments around you to find evidence and build a case so you can find the culprit and possibly clear somebody who's being framed. The peacekeepers generally do not care about truth or justice. They take the body away immediately because it's raining, and their excuse is that they rot really quickly, on top of the fact that they'll pretty much pin it on anybody that's convenient and move on. They don't care. I gotta add this real quick. People in this story all are very obsessed with meat buns that are sold in shops and vending machines and are all over. That's an important detail. Keep that in mind for later. There are also these ghost statues you can find that give you something called, I think, a gumshoe gab, which are extra cutscenes with you just interacting with the other detectives that also arrive to Kanai Ward. The Mystery Labyrinth is a physical manifestation of the real world mystery. It's an abstract, surreal, supernatural place where you must do many things to solve mysteries. There is Reasoning Deathmatch, where a mystery phantom, usually a real person involved with the case in some way, shape, or form, or some type of authority figure, is trying to stop you, where they yell certain statements and questions at you, and you have to dodge left, right, jump up and down, and slash through the right statements and present a solution key. Solution keys are all the evidence you've collected throughout the case to slash through the lies, the contradiction, if you will, very Ace Attorney Danganronpa like, to advance the story. Then you have the quick time events. Sometimes it's like the character will yell things at you and you don't press anything until the right statement comes up, or it can be like, oh, all of a sudden you're in a minecart and 3 options come, left, right, and center. You have to press the right button to go down the right path so you don't get stuck in the mystery labyrinth. By the way, if you don't solve the mystery here, you end up dying eventually. So yeah, there are quick time events, answering questions in different fantastical ways, like Shinigami might just slice your neck, blood comes on the wall, ask you a question, and you answer it. Shinigami Puzzle puts Shinigami in a rotating barrel where you like throw knives to spell out the right word. God Shinigami, you tackle walls, you hop over wooden spikes and kick metal balls back into the air and then present the right solution key in order to reap the soul of the actual culprit. When you actually find who done it and you get to the end of the mystery dungeon, you actually end up killing the person in real life, which ends up becoming a huge moral dilemma for Yuma, because ultimately he's not trying to be a murderer or serial killer. He just wants to find the truth and find out why he gave up his memories in pursuit of becoming a detective. Deduction Denouement is just a comic strip version of everything that happens when you have to put the right pictures in the right spots, and then it retells the case. There are also RPG elements, a level up system that I didn't find particularly engaging, and how you level up is essentially by doing side quests. There are side quests, you get a certain amount of points and you level up. When you examine something new or something interesting, whether or not it has anything to do with the case, you'll get probably 10 detective points. And then how well you perform in the mystery labyrinth in terms of overall health, how many mistakes you made, how much time I think you took to solve everything, that will also give you points. There's also like a recreation of a crime scene that happens every once in a while when Shinigami will punch you really hard, and it lasts as long as your head is like hot and dizzy, but it didn't come up as often as I thought it would. And so for me, I think the gameplay loop works really well with the Daily Life, Investigation, and Mystery Labyrinth. So what I found interesting about this game for me is that I've kind of reversed the gameplay loop in terms of my enjoyment. The daily life part is always important just because you get to see what the various characters in the world are just doing when they're not maybe on a case or not actively pursuing law or whatever the case may be. For Ace Attorney, Phoenix and Maya can just be dicking about, and then, oh no, someone you know got arrested for a murder, but you don't believe they did, and then you start investigating. Investigations have always been fun and enjoyable to me, but I've never preferred it to the actual court case. Even think Danganronpa. Oh no, someone died. Three people have discovered the body. Poo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Monokuma's all like, oh, it's class trial time. Who's the blackened? It's good, it's fun, and I'm retaining all the information I need. But the group class trial to figure out who's done it is the part that I tend to enjoy the most. It's actually flipped this time. As much as I don't think the mystery labyrinth are bad, it's not my favorite part of the gameplay. I actually enjoy investigating more and maybe before the actual murder start to happen. I find that part of the game to be far more enjoyable than the mystery labyrinth. I think in making the mystery labyrinth a little bit too surreal and abstract, it messes with my sense of realism and grounding myself in the story to some degree because it's a little bit overly fantastical, I might say. But I also think because maybe I played the Switch version, transitions weren't seamless. I could be wrong, but I feel like if I play this on my Steam Deck or like a PS5 Pro or something, let's say I'm doing like a reasoning deathmatch and I cut through the truth, I feel like it would transition immediately to him talking, but the Switch needs to fucking load after almost everything that happens and like fade to black, and there's always a pause, and it's just choppy and not a seamless, smooth point A to point B kind of thing, and it doesn't particularly move me. So that could have messed with my enjoyment, but I want to make it very clear, the mystery labyrinth is not bad, and the mystery labyrinth you do in the last two cases, in my opinion, are still very good. Let's move on to music and presentation, which won't be particularly long. I think the music is really good and fits the scenes, the moments, and even has some super slaps, some slappers. Rui Komatsuzaki did a fantastic job with the overall score and original soundtrack of this game. I am not the best at describing music aside from I like it or I don't. I'm not an expert on music, so that's really all I have to say, but I think it's good. I think it's really good. I like the UI of the game. The maps are intuitive and easy to follow, and trust me, I am real life Zoro. I need a good map. The menus are nice, sleek, simple to navigate without any issue, and I don't particularly have any problems. Now, this is obviously going to be a huge spoiler, so if you don't want to, you can skip to the next section, but I am going to talk about the plot and the story of this game. So as I mentioned earlier, you are Yuma Kokohead sent to Kanai Ward of the Amaterasu Corporation in order to find out what's going on. You do your various cases that have connecting threads that link one to another. With each case, you work with a different detective. That's a part of the Nocturnal Detective Agency. I should have probably mentioned that earlier. That's the name of the branch in the Kanai Ward, which Chief Yako is the leader of. So you work with these other detectives. Detectives have something called a forensic forte, which is just a supernatural ability. Oh, I can rewind time. I can disguise myself as anybody. I can separate my spirit from my body and use astral projection. The mystery labyrinth is probably considered to be a kind of power as well, because when it happens and you go into it, you actually stop time, you go into it, and when you come back out, you're in the same kind of moment you were before, and usually the person who was the culprit ends up dying immediately because you reap their soul. For some reason, he also has something called coalescence, but I'm not going to beat around the bush and drag this out. All the original residents of Kanai Ward died during something called the Blank Week Mystery. The great secret is that the Amaterasu CEO, Makoto, is stealing criminals from around the world to feed the various homunculi of Kanai Ward. During the Blank Week Mystery, as one of the doctors from the Amaterasu Corporation was trying to create artificial humans, fake humans, homunculi of everybody, they took everyone's blood, and homunculi go crazy in the sunlight and start to rampage and forget what they did, and they crave human flesh. That's the reason why it's perpetually raining in the Kanai Ward, because it blocks out the sun. It allows them to be normal. Every normal resident was basically replaced by their homunculi resident. However, in the history of ever, one perfect homunculi was created. It is the homunculi of somebody called Number One. the greatest detective and the leader of the World Detective Organization. He's the leader. So Makoto is actually the homunculus of Yuma Kokohead, which we learned in the last case is number one. You are actually the leader and the smartest detective in the WDO.
What's wrong? It's the end for you if you can't figure this out. I will end you!
Watch out!
Why am I able to use number one's forte? Why would Shinigami hide that from me? Wait, could it be? Is this related to my lost memories? That must mean my true identity is... The perfect homunculus was based on the DNA of the WDO's number one. In other words, you are number one's homunculus!
But because of the insanity and the difficulty of getting into Kanai Ward to investigate and whatnot, you actually gave up your past and memories, stole the identity of somebody else who ends up coming to Kanai Ward as well in order to solve this. At the end of the game, when you give up the Book of Death temporarily or for now, you actually regain your original persona, and Yuma, or number one I suppose, his original persona is really cool. So you have a face-off with your homunculi, and plus, since it's a homunculi of you, the smartest person in WDO, he was able to manipulate the WDO and is just as cunning and as brilliant as you are. That's why it had to be you to kind of take down another version of you. That's kind of the whole story and the mystery. I thought it worked well, but I would argue the fifth case was my favorite, where Chief Yako actually ends up being the culprit, and he ends up, essentially, to make a long story short, he ends up just tanking poisonous gas that would kill him because he's so hell-bent on getting revenge on somebody that I guess killed his wife or lover. And to the point he hires one of the assassins to stab him after to hide the cause of death. As for the characters, I think Yuma is great. As much as I haven't played World's Ends Club, that's what it's called, World's Ends Club, and I'm still mad at Kodaka, I'll give him this. All his protagonists have been raw to me. Makoto from Danganronpa 1, Hajime from Danganronpa 2, and I like Yuma a lot, and even Makoto's sister for Ultra Despair Girls were solid as fuck. Oh, Komaru and Suichi, I think, were the other ones from the other Danganronpa games. Like, they're good. They're good too. I think he's really good at that. I think Yuma is presented really well as an amnesiac character, kind of trying to figure out what's going on, losing his original personality and struggling with the moral dilemma of when he solves a mystery, he ends up taking the life of the culprit. Shinigami is a very fun companion. She's a little annoying sometimes and kind of like the mascot character, if you will, but I don't have any problem with her. Ghost waifus are raw. She's hot. She has a lot of funny jokes, and if you don't like her jokes, she'll boom kill ya. Halara Nightmare is one of my favorite characters. She's one of the detectives that are from the WDO that make it to Kanai Ward, and she's very monetarily driven. She'll do anything and is a great detective with great physical skills, but she wants to get paid to do it. She does not work for free, and correctly, she's the first person you work with. Oh, as a side note, if you are not the owner of the Book of Death, you can come into the labyrinth, because I should explain this better, but okay. Number one's ability is Coalescence, which I brought up earlier. Coalescence allows Yuma, or number one, to use the ability or forensic forte of anybody he's in contact with, but it also has a reversed effect. So when he started to use the various detectives' abilities, at the end of the case, when you're going to the mystery labyrinth, they come in with you. When they're in the mystery labyrinth, they forget all the details of the real world case, so they can't really help you as much as you think in there. But when they exit the mystery labyrinth, they don't remember it, except one person. Vivia Twilight. He just likes to read. He's very lazy, nonchalant, distant, and aloof. And he kind of comes with you in the case where the chief is the murderer and he figures it out, and he basically presents the dilemma of, is the truth always worth pursuing if it won't make anybody happy, and gets in your way. Because he has the powers of spirits and astral projection, he can actually kind of always see Shinigami. So it's very interesting when he comes into the actual labyrinth with you. He retains the memories. Fubuki Clockwork is actually like, she's the hot ditzy girl. She's an idiot, but she can rewind time. Though it's very taxing, because her ability is so broken, that is why she became a WDO detective, even though she's got one fucking brain cell. Desuhiko Thunderbolt is the dedicated pervert. He's, you know, really into girls and women and has a disguise ability. He's kind of my least favorite character. I don't have too much to say about him. Vivia, Halara being some of my favorite too. Yaku Furio is your chief. He's cool. I like him. He's actually a normal detective with no forensic forte, but he still gets a lot of good, even though he feels like all he does is like find lost pets and deal with infidelity. Kurumi Wendy is a homunculus. Well, everyone here is an homunculus except for the people who came to Kanai Ward. But even Yoko Furio, his original version had died too during the Blank Week mystery. But he's cool. I like him. Kurumi is like an informant. She's kind of like the love interest somewhat. I like her. She works really well. I don't have any issues with her. She's cute. I think she'll play a much bigger role in the upcoming game. Yomi Hellsmile is the leader of the Peacekeepers. He's just a corrupt motherfucker. He's just a really bad person or whatever. Before I get to Makoto Kagusuchi, I want to do a couple of mentions. There's DLC characters that I don't know. There's Fink the Slaughter Artist and the Ramen Stand owner who is the person you steal your identity from. There's the all-girls school, Aethera Academy, who has like Karen, Aiko, Raruna, Yoshiko, Kurane, and the teacher Hana, which was a big part of one case, the church people. They didn't have names. They had like servant, priest, worshiper, nun. And the nun is kind of funny because she'd be like, I'll kill your ass in the name of God. It was the first set of people you kind of met on the train, but they all end up dying in the first case and are hardly mentioned again, like Melanie Goldmine. So don't really worry about them. Dr. Huesca is the person who created the homunculi. Seth Burrows and a couple others like Dominic Fulltank are kind of one note, one chapter people. And there was a chapter with something called the Resistance. People from the poorest section of the Kanai Ward trying to fight against Amaterasu Corporation, Shachi, Icardi, Servan, Margula, and the crazy girl with the gun. I think her name was Iruka. So yeah. So Makoto is your homunculi and also has coalescence just like you. He's the only other person who physically comes into the mystery labyrinth to stop you. You're actually fighting him and he has a solution blade just like you to cut through mysteries and stop things from happening. It's a very good final confrontation of kind of two similar characters, and it made sense why he hit his face. It was a very good slow burn reveal, even though I figured it out around chapter 4. He, to me, is one of the best characters in the game along Halara Nightmare and Vivia Twilight and Yuma Kokohead. I really like him a lot, and I think because he was such a strong antagonist, and he actually did only kidnap criminals around the world who were on death row. However, you don't know if some of them could be innocent. Therefore, I still don't agree with what he was doing, but he was very careful about feeding the Kanai Ward residents his fellow homunculi human remains in the form of meatballs based off of criminals. And that's kind of like the story in a nutshell. I know that was very disorganized. I apologize, but cool story. It worked for the most part, though I think it has a very Professor Layton-esque kind of like, oh, everyone's been replaced. So to conclude my final thoughts, my general takeaway that this is a good game with great visuals, nice artwork. Shout out to the Danganronpa team for the most part. I know a lot of those guys came back to work on this game. With fun gameplay loops with the 3 sections, daily life, investigation, and mystery labyrinth that I think you guys will enjoy. I would absolutely play a sequel, and I think they're planning to do one, though I don't know how well this game sold. I like mysteries, I like solving them, I like critical thinking and using reading comprehension to solve things and point out contradictions. That will always move me. But as far as kind of new mystery series that I've kind of got into, the Somnium Files is currently kind of my favorite right now, and I really think that is really good. As for the DLC, if you really love this world and this IP, I think you should get it. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Just watch the DLC on YouTube or something. The DLC gives you one case to do with each other detective. Vivia, Fubuki, Halara Nightmare, I believe Desahiko. I don't remember if there's one for the chief actually. I think maybe there is. I think there is. And you basically just do those. They're not that important. They don't add as much as you think they would, but if you really care about it, you should give it a try and get it. I gave this game a 7.6 out of 10. I think it was good. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm not really here to recommend it or not recommend it, but I think it's a cool game, and if you're a Danganronpa fan, I don't see why you wouldn't try it out. So that's all I have to say for the time being. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below if you've already played it, or if maybe me spoiling the whole fucking game for you made it interesting. Y'all be safe and have a nice day.